Good morning, good morning. I apologize for running a little bit behind this morning. It is now time for convening of the Senate. It has arrived, and it will come to order. At this time, I will ask all unauthorized personnel to exit the chamber. Chair recognizes the senator from the 28th. Speak to the journal. Hold on.
Now we're live. Good morning, everyone. Want to give you a little tidbit here. On this day in 1932, the first patent for a tree was issued to James Markham for none other than the peach tree. Found that very interesting. And Phil Niekro pitched until he was 48 and was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1997. He was still an active player when he was inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame on this day in 1985. Today is National Almond Day, Do a Grouch a Favor Day, Tim Tam Day. I have no idea what that means. Candy. And it's Jello Week. Love Jello. Now, I want to introduce our great lineup of pages today. Don't worry.
You sound like
guys
a frat boy
and
this
girls.
morning.
So first off, out of my hometown, Noonan, Georgia, we've got Chloe and Hannah Smith. And they are, y'all may know their father, Robert Smith, who runs around the Capitol here. We've got Emmeline Deal, Cedric Lemons, Tristan Davis, Leland Ganskow, Vin Pham, Ryan Scott, Carson Prather, and Joaquin Baez Cordova. Y'all give our pages a big round of applause. Thank you for your service today. Emma? Who? And Tristan. Tristan, did we miss you? Thank you for being here. Mr. President, the journal's been read and found to be correct.
That was tough this morning, Senator. And I do appreciate you recognizing the pledges. You got me saying it now. The pages. So they are doing a lot of good work, and we've had a lot of good people. And I remind everyone, if they have children or grandchildren in that, I guess 13 to 15-year-old range, they ought to encourage them to come down and page. So, all right. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? Chair hears none, and the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. Senator from the 20th, for what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, do you think our illustrious rule chairman might have stayed too late at trivia night?
Senator, I wouldn't know anything about that, but I bet you know what you speak, so appreciate that. First reading of references to Senate bills and resolutions. Secretary, read the captions.
Senate Bill 184 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to restrictions on the ownership, operation, and control of dealerships by manufacturers and franchisors and competing
Regulated
unfairly.
industries.
Senate Bill 185 by Senator Williams of the 25th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to appointment of assistant district
Judiciary.
attorneys. Senate Bill 186 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th and others, a bill to be entitled an act relating to the liability of owners and occupiers of land generally, so as to limit landowner liability regarding
Insurance and
invitees.
labor.
Senate Bill 187 by Senator Setzler of the 37th 97th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to domestic relations so as to make numerous revisions to
Children and
chapter.
Family.
Senate Bill 188 by Senator Goodman of the 8th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to local government so as to prohibit certain use restrictions on residential dwellings, to provide for definitions, to
Regulated
provide.
Industries.
Senate Bill 189 by Senator Burns of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to primaries and elections generally so as to provide that the text portions of ballots produced by ballot marking devices shall be counted for vote tabulation and recount purposes.
Ethics.
Senate Bill 190 by Senator Still of the 48th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to labor and industrial relations so as to change certain provisions regarding employment security, to provide for automatic repeal, to provide for related matters, to provide
Insurance
for.
and Labor.
Senate Bill 191 by Senator Still of the 48th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to motor vehicles and traffic so as to repeal provisions authorizing joinder of motor carriers and their insurance carriers and tort and contract causes of action, to provide for
Transportation.
related matters. Senate Bill 192 by Senator Anderson of the 24th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to general provisions relative to torts so as to limit
Judiciary.
liability. Senate Bill 193 by Senator Gooch of the 51st and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to promotion and deployment of broadband services so as to
Regulated
provide.
Industries.
Senate Bill 194 by Senator Still of the 48th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to alcoholic beverages and motor vehicles and traffic respectively, so as to change certain
Regulated
provisions.
Industries.
Senate Bill 195 by Senator Walker III of the 20th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to professions and businesses so as to
Veterans.
repeal. Senate Bill 196 by Senator Watson of the 1st and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to horns, exhaust systems, mirrors, windshields, tires, safety belts.
Transportation.
Senate Bill 197 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to general provisions relative to professions and
Health and
businesses.
Human Services.
Senate Bill 198 by Senator Harrell of the 40th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to governing and regulation of mental health so as to create the Georgians with
Health and
intellectual
Human
and development.
Services.
Senate Bill 199 by Senator Estevez of the 6th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to the State Employees Benefit Plan Council so as to require such
Retirement.
council. Senate Bill 200 by Senator Cowser of the 46th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to general provisions governing discovery under the Civil Practice Act so as to
Regulated
provide.
Industries.
Senate Bill 201 by Senator Estevez of the 6th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to torts so as to provide for the revival of claims for damages available to victims of human
Judiciary.
trafficking. Senate Bill 2002 by Senator Rahman of the 5th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to public school property and facilities so as to provide for an outdoor learning
Education and
space.
Youth.
Senate Bill 2003 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to industry services training programs so as to provide for tuition-free programs that relate.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 155 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a resolution creating the Senate Truck Drivers Shortage Study Committee and for other purposes.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 156 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a resolution urging the Technical College System of Georgia to
Rules.
conduct. Senate Resolution 158 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a resolution designating the Northwest Georgia Logistics Corridor.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 159 by Senator Strickland of the 17th and others, a resolution creating the Senate Study Committee on the Parenting Time.
Rules.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
First reading references the House bills.
House Bill 85 by Representative Cooper of the 45th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to general provisions regarding
Health and Human
insurance.
Services.
House Bill 87 by Representative Irwin of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to elementary and secondary education so as to revise and
Education and
repeal.
Youth.
House Bill 91 by Representative Wade of the 9th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to probate so as to require personal representatives to
Judiciary.
send. House Bill 132 by Representative Jenkins of the 136th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to amendment and revision of codes generally.
Agriculture.
House Bill 182 by Representative Reeves of the 99th and others, a bill to be entitled, an act relating to recording of deeds and other real property transactions.
Judiciary.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary Reed's report of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Ethics has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 129 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 46 do pass. Senate Bill 106 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 46 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 111 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 109 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson of the 1st District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 91 do pass. Senate Bill 110 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Walker of the 20th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Natural Resources and the Environment has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 121 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Anderson of the 24th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Public Safety has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 35 do pass. Senate Bill 63 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 120 do pass. Senate Bill 138 do pass. Senate Bill 159 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Albers of the 56th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Transportation has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 52 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Dolezal of the 27th District Chairman. Mr. President, that completes the order.
All right, thank you very much. It is now time for the second readers.
Senate Bill 32 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, Alyssa's Law. Senate Bill 50 by Senator Burns of the 32nd, 23rd and others, Education. Local boards of education which operate a school with grades 9 through 12 may operate instruction in lifeguarding and aquatic safety provide. Senate Bill 123 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, Educational programs, state-funded administration of a nationally recognized career and college readiness assessment, and an assessment leading to a nationally recognized workforce credential require. Mr. President, that completes the order.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Senator from the 31st.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the great chairman of rules from the 28th District.
Without objection, the senator from the 28th is excused. Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the following senators for business outside the Capitol: 17, 15, 38, and 39.
Without objection, the senator from the 17th, 15th, 38th, and 39th are excused. Senator from the 41st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for your unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 6th.
Without objection, senator from the 6th is excused. Senator from the 50th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 19th, the 57th, and the 56th for a meeting on the second floor.
There is no 57th, Senator.
56 and
50.
52nd.
52nd, okay.
Yes, sir.
52nd. Unless y'all added another floor leader I don't know about, but hey. Without objection, senator from the 19th, 56th, and 52nd is excused. Any other motions to excuse? Chair hearing none. Secretary will unlock the machines. Signify your presence by voting the yay switch. It is now time for our morning devotion. All senators, please take your seats and cease all audible conversation. I would like to ask the doorkeeper to secure the chamber. I want to recognize, we've got a really good group of people from the Augusta, Columbia County area today, and glad to have the pastor from that neck of the woods here, Reverend Johnson, with us today. And I'll call on the senator from the 23rd for our Pledge of Allegiance and the introduction of our chaplain of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you'd stand, please, and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now to the Georgia flag. Pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, to the principles which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage. Thank you, colleagues. Good morning. I am delighted to welcome a good friend from Augusta, Reverend Christopher Johnson, to the Senate chamber. Reverend Johnson is a retired pastor of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, where he served the Augusta community for over 30 years. Chris is a member currently of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church and a guest pastor at Jenkins Memorial CME Church. Reverend Johnson continues an incredible life of service to Augusta and the greater Augusta community. He serves as the executive director and program director for the Greater Augusta Interfaith Coalition. The coalition is a nonprofit that strives to better the lives of all citizens in the Augusta community. His work supports the disabled, housing, youth education and leadership, and many, many more. One of our most recent examples of his service was the way he impacted the community in Educate to Vaccinate, to encourage people to learn about COVID and to take the proper precautions in vaccination. We have with us today a group here on the floor, but also in the gallery. If you're with the Augusta Interfaith Coalition, would you stand, please? We're glad you're here. Senate, welcome our friends from Augusta. Reverend Johnson graduated in 1981 from Morris Brown College with a degree in political science, economics, and history. In 1990, he received his master's in divinity from the Interdenominational Theological Seminary, as well as a master in public administration and urban affairs at Georgia State University. Reverend Johnson is married to Linda Fountain Johnson. The couple have two sons, Christopher Johnson II from Washington, D.C., David M. Johnson from Greensboro, North Carolina. Reverend Johnson enjoys many titles. He's a spiritual leader, a scholar, professor, program director, a community organizer, a project manager, a pastor, a husband, a father, but most importantly, Christopher Johnson's my friend. Please welcome Reverend Christopher Johnson to the Georgia Senate chamber. Reverend Johnson.
Senator Burns, to the honorable senators of the state of Georgia, to the honorable Lieutenant Governor, I am grateful for this opportunity to introduce you to a scripture that comes from 1 John, the 4th chapter. It says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. And everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love." Today we stopped by here at the Great Senate to give homage and appreciation to all your great work. But the most important thing that God wants us to do more than anything else is to show love, show compassion, show an understanding for our brothers and sisters, those in need and those that cannot fend and do for themselves. God wants us to be barriers of love, not just barriers of a title, barriers of understanding. God wants us to transcend, as my Alpha brothers would say, transcend the world to the point where we are doing exactly what God wants us to do, is to let our light shine in the midst of darkness, that men, women, boys, and girls will see love exuberating out of us in a way that is that every bill we pass, we think of love. Every gesture we make, we think of love. And every understanding we have is not because of the left side or the right side, but a higher margin, a margin of love. That's what we're called upon. That's the highest truth, is to be loved and to show love and to experience love. I am grateful for this opportunity to be with you this morning. I'm grateful for the men and women of the Great Augusta Interfaith Coalition, the senators from our great areas. I'm grateful for all of you. But if we can't do anything else, let us do one thing: show love. Let us pray. Eternal God, we thank you for your presence. We thank you for your grace, your love, and your mercy. We thank you for this opportunity we have, oh God, not to talk, but to live love and to experience love and to show love. That men, women, boys, and girls will know that we know you, God, because of our love towards one another. And in your Son, Jesus' name, we do pray. Let everyone say amen. Amen. Thank you.
All right. Oh, do you want to introduce? All right. It is always a pleasure to have our doctors of the day, and we've had some really good ones we've gotten to introduce and recognize here, and as we have, there's no exception for the man that we have here today, Dr. David Blake here of Lithia Springs. He's a wonderful, wonderful family physician, and we appreciate him coming down here and volunteering his time and being a part of the process. And I call on my minority leader from the 55th to introduce a doctor of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. It is my pleasure to introduce to you David Blake. He's a native of Bronx, New York. He graduated from Northside Performing Arts High School in Atlanta after relocating with his family. Dr. Blake received a BS from Howard University in Washington, D.C., and earned his MD degree from Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta. He completed his internship and residency training in family medicine from MSM Department of Family Medicine, serving as chief resident during his final year, and has completed fellowship training in faculty development, MSM Department of Family Medicine. He has been recognized as the MSM National Alum of the Year and has served as president of the MSM National Alumni Association. Furthermore, he is the medical director for Family First Healthcare, PC, in Lithia Springs, where he provides clinical preceptionship training to medical students, nurse practitioner students, and physician assistant students. Through the Atlanta Medical Association, Dr. Blake mentors college pre-medical students. Dr. Blake is the president-elect of GSMA, vice president of the Heritage Fund of the AMA, and past president and chair of the AMA. I'm beginning to wonder, when does he have time to doctor? Dr. Blake has served as ringside physician for the Georgia State Boxing Commission, covering boxing and mixed martial arts throughout the state of Georgia. Most proudly, Dr. Blake is the father of 4 beautiful daughters, Alexandra, Ariana, Ariel, and Brianna. Welcome, Dr. Blake, and welcome to the State Senate.
Good morning. I don't know who that guy is either. But I thank you all for giving me the opportunity to join this morning. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I appreciate all that you do for the state of Georgia, your constituents, and my patients. I look forward to working with you all during my tenure as president of the Georgia State Medical Association as we continue to deliver the best health care in the land to our members, our patients here in the great state of Georgia. Thank you all.
We have some very special guests here with us today. All our guests are special, but we have some special guests that the senator from the 47th has brought with us today. Secretary, read the caption, please.
Senate Resolution 19 by Senator Gannon of the 47th and others, a resolution recognizing and commending family and consumer sciences and for other purposes. Whereas Family and Consumer Sciences, FCS, is a comprehensive body of innovative research, knowledge, and skills that helps people make informed decisions about their well-being, relationships, and quality of life. And whereas dedicated and impressive FCS professionals have worked hard to empower individuals and families in Georgia to better manage the challenges of living and working in a diverse global society. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize and commend the affiliates, communities, and entities within family and consumer sciences. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'd like to call on the senator from the 47th, introduce the group and speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Governor. So it's great to be in front of y'all today. This morning, I'm joined on the stage by a lot of my friends from the Family and Consumer Science of our #1 national Bulldogs at the University of Georgia. Dr. Z is our dean, and I'm going to ask Dr. Z to step forward. One of the things a lot of people don't recognize is FACS, Family and Consumer Science, makes it sustainable, livable, and for me, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the College of Family and Consumer Science. My mother was a graduate of that program back in 1949. So I'm going to pick on my intern this year, Sarah, if you would come up here. Said y'all may see Sarah in my office, and we have the highest quality of students ever that come out of the University of Georgia in the FACS program that come down and work with us every year. So we're honored. Dr. Z, I'm going to let you say a few remarks, if you don't mind, about UGA.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that, and we're grateful for the recognition of family and consumer sciences as a profession, which I feel like has been for many years, really over a century, at University of Georgia, of providing science and practice to help people, giving them the skills to enhance their well-being, that of their families and their communities. So I'm joined by my colleagues across the state, and we're grateful for this.
Thank you very much.
Are there any unanimous consents? Chair hearing none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Senator from the 39th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I rise this morning to speak about Tommy Dorge, an icon in Atlanta's business and civic community who passed away yesterday at the age of 72. Thomas Dorge Jr. helped demolish unfair stereotypes of black men in corporate America, government, and nonprofit environments. But more than that, he was a visionary, a friend, a mentor, and advisor to so many, including myself. From the time he arrived as a college student at Fort Valley State University, and then in his time as a graduate student at Clark Atlanta University, and through to his death, he was a staunch supporter of historically black colleges and universities, founding the National Black College Alumni Hall of Fame and promoting their growth through scholarships, through meetings. Tommy Dorge began his early career working in politics as a vice chair of the Georgia Democratic Party, and impressively, he went on to work as an administrative aide for U.S. Senator Sam Nunn, and eventually became his state director and chief administrator, becoming the first African American to have that role for any U.S. senator. He joined the 100 Black Men of America and rose to become its chairman, where he raised nearly $100 million for the organization over 20 years. And the organization's headquarters on Auburn Avenue down the street bears his name. As Chief Executive Officer of TWD Inc., he opened doors for minority contractors with federal, state, and local governments. And he had a track record in business growth. And with that, he co-founded the Georgia Association of Minority Entrepreneurs and sprouted a string of private businesses and nonprofit community organizations focused on delivering quality services and gaining civic trust. He was a man on a mission, and many people do not get to appreciate fully the fruits of their labor, but Tommy Dortch had the blessings of being able to receive his roses while he lived. In fact, I was able to join him the last couple of times when he was feted and applauded for his accomplishments. Most memorably, I was able to accompany him on a trip to New York City, where he rang the opening bell for the New York Stock Exchange as chairman of 100 Black Men. It was a historic event and just part of a capstone of a life incredibly well lived. I can nearly hear him now, and I will miss it. Anytime I would call, he would say, "My senator, you make me so proud." And I will hope to continue to do the work that I am doing and follow in his footsteps, making a complete impact on my community, making sure that I have the love of family and friends, and making sure that the work that I do has an impact that will live on in a legacy well beyond me. Rest well, Tommy Dortch. You have lived a life that is full and well. Thank you. A moment of silence.
Hold on 1 second, Senator, because I wanted to say a few
Yes,
words
please.
before we take a well-needed moment of silence. But thank you for taking this point of personal privilege. I too was a friend of Tommy, and what a prince of a man he was, and what a great life that he lived. I'll tell you a story how we got to know each other. It was a few years ago. Some of you who were here in the Senate might remember that I had a little airport bill. You know, it was a little bit controversial. You know, and I had a gentleman give me a call one afternoon, a minority business owner. His name was Tommy Dortch, and he said, "Senator, this is Tommy," and told me who he was, and he said, "I'd like to sit down and talk to you. You and I have a lot of mutual friends." And so we went, and I had lunch at his office there in downtown Atlanta, and had a wonderful visit with him. And it was obvious that he and I didn't agree on the issues we were talking about, but we understood where each other were coming from. And we developed a friendship, we developed a relationship over something that, you know, this day and time, you usually don't see people develop friendships over something they disagree on at the start. But Tommy has been a leader in the city of Atlanta community. He's a proud graduate of Fort Valley State. He's raised over $100 million to historic black colleges and universities in his lifetime. And he is somebody who is well respected and admired, not just here in the city of Atlanta, but all over the state. And I think we always continued our conversation through the years. And in fact, I was sad to hear when I got the news about him passing yesterday, because I just talked to him about three weeks ago. It was one of those moments that you just kind of stop, and because he had that kind of impact, he had that kind of influence over people, and you realize that you lost a fine individual, you lost a fine citizen of this state. And I will say that Tommy will live on, because after he and I started our friendship 5 years ago, it was amazing the mutual contacts that I ran into, and the thing that you would hear most out of every individual, young, old, white, black, didn't matter. They would always say, "Tommy is my mentor. Tommy is my friend," and he was that to so many individuals here in this city and this state, and he will be missed. And he understood how it's okay to be disagreeable, and just as long as you do it in a gentlemanly or a ladylike way. And I think if there's anything of the life and legacy that he lived, I think you take away that he did it the right way, and he went about his business the right way, went about his politics the right way, and I know he'll be sorely missed by all the people that he helped mentor through the years. So I'd like to join and ask that y'all join the senator from 39th and asking for a moment of silence. Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 9th.
Good morning, everyone. I really hate to pivot from the passing of Tommy Dorsch, a true giant and great leader, and he will be missed. He'll be missed by all of Georgia and all of our communities. But just wanted to talk a little bit about an issue that it keeps coming up in my constituency, complaints that I keep hearing continuously. What is the state doing? What are you guys doing? How are you going to fix this problem? Top issue, top concern. And here we have again from the AJC, another article. I have two here. Investor homes cause tension in neighborhoods. Suburban Atlanta homeowners clash with firms building single home rentals. American Dream for rent. Investors elbow out individual home buyers. Folks, we have a problem. And it's not that it's an anti-business stance. We want business here. However, homes are being built that are locking out individuals from ever owning a home and building a renting type of culture. And I know we need a balance between workforce housing, transient housing, housing options. We need options for our essential workers. We need options for our first responders. I get it. The supply is not there. But somehow these build-to-rent folks are finding supply. And the supply that they're building is for them to rent and not for people to own these homes. So the supply is there, and somehow they're incentivized to build some houses. And we have to have a balance here. I'm not so sure the problem with supply and having transient and workforce housing, I don't think the answer is build to rent, and I don't think the answer is preempting our local governments. There's a middle here. All of us in this room, all of these smart lobbyists that are out there, I know we have a better plan. There's an option C, and we can figure it out. And maybe many of you own homes here. Probably a couple. That's great. But what I worry about is my kid going to be able to have a home to own. Or your kid's going to be able to have a home to own. Or are they just going to have rental properties and never be able to build wealth and have the American dream? Because that's what we're talking about here. And I don't even know how people are affording rents now. When these investors come in and buy these homes, not only are they not taking care of them and taking care of the people that are living in them, they're driving up rents. And they won't sell off to a homeowner when they're ready to sell. They sell it to another investor and keep driving up the cost. And when they have them, I'm going to point again, they leave the homes that they're renting in substandard conditions. I'm talking mold, basic living, like air conditioner out. People can't get that fixed, and it's hot in Georgia. Try being without your air conditioner. Or you have a complaint and you want your landlord to come fix your air conditioner. You don't even know where your landlord is. He's off in another country somewhere. Can't find him. Pest control. you know, just subpar. Maybe the place flooded and the plumbing isn't right. People can't even get that fixed when these investors assume these properties. And then we complain that we have a homeless problem. We have a bill to lock up homeless people. We complain about violence. We complain about the tension. But we offer no social supports. No social supports for the economic hardships people are facing, the limited resources families are facing, the low wages families are facing, and then we wonder why we have tension and violence. Probably, and I would seem to bet that some children live in these substandard homes. I know, I have a neighborhood in my district. Poor living conditions. These kids are going home to that. Imagine your kids going home to that. Imagine having a working mom, a single mom who's working so hard and would love to have a home to own, and she's renting and is in the worst conditions for her children and her family to live with. This is what we're looking at. And we need to start demanding that, hey, Wall Street investors, if you're gonna come here and build these homes and do business here, you need to take care of our people. I yield the will.
Senator from the 31st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll take a couple minutes, but I do want to recognize my brother, my family member, my, you know, just, I don't have words for it. Recognize General John King, who's retiring from the military this afternoon at 2 o'clock. John and I have known each other for probably 20 years, over 20 years, going back to his days before he was the chief of police with the city of Doraville, and going back to the days when he was serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you know, and I remember many nights at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning getting calls from him about his troops getting blown up out of Humvees with roadside bombs and everything else, and even the time when eventually I moved from DeKalb County to Paulding County with a group of city council members who were trying to fire him back in the day because he was a member of the armed services and in the military serving our country abroad. John's a very special person, regardless whether you're Republican, Democrat. The service that he's done to the community, you know, his historic election of being the first Hispanic constitutional officer ever elected in the state, I think speaks to the testimony of, you know, the service to his kids, his wife Carol, our community, our state, and most importantly to the United States of America, which he has served with courage and character and determination ever since he was a young boy in this nation. So, John, I love you, and I look forward to celebrating your retirement, and thank you for leading troops in America, foreign, here on the streets of Atlanta when you worked for APD, and love you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. My favorite senator from Albany, Georgia. Senator from the 12th. I understand you have some special guests here today, Senator.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you so very much. This morning, I have extra special guests. I want you to take a look to my right and your left, and I want you to see the president of Albany Tech, our newest president of Albany Technical College, our newest chairman of the county commission, Reverend Hurd. I can't remember everybody's name. I'm getting old, y'all. And our mayor of Albany, Georgia, Mr. Bodura. I'm so sorry. Brain freeze. And we have the chairman of our chamber, Ms. Barbara Rivera Holmes, and also a member of Regents. Thank you so much. Commending the Albany Area Chamber of Commerce and recognizing February 16, 2023 as Albany-Doherty County Day at the state capitol and for other purposes, whereas Albany-Doherty County and the Albany area play a vital and ever-expanding role in establishing and maintaining Georgia as the #1 state in the country for business, and whereas Albany-Doherty County is known for its innovative small businesses and large businesses, Marine Corps Logistics Space, Albany, global industries including Procter & Gamble, Molson Coors, Mars Wrigley Confectionery, Georgia Pacific, Thrush Aircraft, and Thermacare, just to name a few. Attractions and growing tourism industry, outdoor recreational opportunities, natural resources, world-class healthcare, and educational institutions. And having said that, the president of Albany State is also in attendance, Dr. Marion Frederick. Whereas the Albany Area Chamber of Commerce represents and advances the interests of the business community with distinction. It leads the efforts to create a business climate that is conducive to economic growth and prosperity. And whereas in the aftermath of natural disasters and the COVID-19 pandemic, it played a key role in supporting, protecting, and enhancing the quality of life and commercial vitality of the Albany area. And it convenes the talents and resources of strategic and governmental partners for the benefit of the community and region. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the Albany Area Chamber of Commerce on 113 years of excellence in serving the economic hub of Southwest Georgia and advocating for the Albany area's interest, and recognize February 16th, 2023 as Albany-Doherty County Day at the state capitol. Be it further resolved that the Secretary of the State is authorized and directed to make an appropriate copy of this resolution available for distribution to the Albany Area Chamber of Commerce, signed by especially the President of the Senate, President Pro Tempore, Secretary of the Senate, and Senator Freddie Powell Sims, District 12. Thank you all so much for what you do for Albany every day and the Albany area. It is so important that you are here, and whatever we can do as a body, we are poised to do it. So thank you so very much for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator, and thank all our Doherty County and Albany, City of Albany officials and commissioners, chairman, the mayor, hospital. Great community. Enjoyed being in Albany last Thursday or Friday. I can't remember which one it was, but enjoyed that. Great community, great leadership, and they got a fine senator as well. So, Senator from the 40th, I'd like to rise on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I grew up in a Midwestern city where we walked to and from school every day. And on the 4th of July, we closed off both ends of the street, threw a big neighborhood party, and spent the day decorating our bikes. My mother still fondly refers to those neighbors as the 58th Street Gang. One of the things I remember well about 58th Street was the sound of Barbie walking with her dad every evening. Barbie was blind and profoundly developmentally disabled. The distinct sound of her rhythmic feet stomping during those walks was just part of life on 58th Street, as well as hearing her shout her favorite words, Gungy, dinner, and Scotty, her brother. I'm guessing everyone in this chamber has a Barbie story to tell. And I'm sure that you knew, just as I did as a small child, that the Barbie in your life was just as human as you and me, with feelings, likes, and dislikes, just like us. Today, as you walk around the Capitol, you are likely to see families just like Barbies. It's the Georgia Council on Developmental Disabilities Waivers and Wages Day. Waivers refers to now and comp waivers, which allow for people living with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live and work in their communities. Wages refers to support for a living wage for direct service providers, the workers who care for those with disabilities. Georgia has struggled for decades to build the infrastructure necessary to meet the demands set forth by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1999 that said that unjustified segregation of people with disabilities is a form of unlawful discrimination under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Georgia needs an infrastructure that allows those living with developmental disabilities to be able to work, to contribute, to lead, to belong, to be respected, to form friendships, and to be cared for in a safe and loving way. Please join the senator from the 56th and me at the South Steps today at 1 o'clock as we announce our study committee recommendations for just how we will meet these needs during the coming years. Do it for the Barbies in your life. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator from the 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to add my congratulations to those of the senator from the 31st, to Major General John King, on the occasion of his retirement this afternoon at Dobbins at 2 o'clock. I think most of you know Commissioner King. He was born in Mexico. He served for many years as the police chief in Doraville. He's been a member of the National Guard since Desert Storm and has had multiple international deployments. He was appointed by the governor as insurance commissioner in 2019 and then elected last fall, and he is doing a great job. I'm so proud of him. He's really restored trust in that office, and he's known for his integrity, his willing to listen, and his courage. So I just wanted to say congratulations, General King. I yield the will.
Senator from the 43rd. Where's the senator from the 43rd? There she is. There she is.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Today I rise as a proud member of the sister sorority to this fine fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. The first intercollegiate Greek letter fraternity established for African American men was founded at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York on December the 4th, 1906 by Henry Arthur Callis, Charles Henry Chapman, Eugene Kinkle Jones, George Biddle Kelly, Nathaniel Allison Murray, Robert Harold Ogle, and Vertner Woodson Tandy, known as the Jewels, who recognized the need for a strong bond of brotherhood among African descendants in this country. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, for 116 years, has been a beacon of light to the community by staying true to its aims of manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated has a current membership of over 70,000 college-educated men, inducted into over 700 college and alumni chapters in the United States, Europe, Asia, and the Caribbean. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated continues to live its mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy for our communities by contributing over $2.3 million in academic scholarships and volunteering 850,000 community service hours. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated counts renowned Georgians as members, such as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Ambassador Andrew Young, Mayor Maynard H. Jackson, U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, Congressman David Scott, W.E.B. Du Bois, Dr. Louis Sullivan, actor Omari Hardwick, John Hope, Georgia State Representative Teddy Reese, and former Georgia State Representatives Derek Jackson and Mickey Stevens. The men of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated are here for their 16th annual Alpha Day at the Capitol, under the leadership of Georgia District Director Sherman M. Lofton Jr., Assistant District Director Anthony T. Washington. I was about to make him Anthony Hamilton. And Political Action Director, Chairman Dr. William T. Simmons, representing 42 chapters across Georgia. As a member of the Divine Nine and other members in this chamber, let us welcome the men of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated to the Senate and to their state capitol. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. Today, I'm here with another Black History moment highlighting one of the members of our Georgia State Senate. Senator David Lucas, the senator from the 26th, was first elected to the state Senate in 2012 to represent Hancock, Twiggs, Washington, and Wilkinson counties, as well as portions of Bibb, Houston, and Jones County. Senator Lucas serves as a member of the Senate Appropriation, Economic Development, and Tourism, Regulated Industry, and Utilities, Transportation, and Urban Affairs Committees. Senator Lucas, the senator from the 26th, has earned a bachelor degree in political science from Tuskegee Institute, a doctorate from Mercer University, Dr. Luke, a medical school and honorary doctorate from there, and also from Mercer Law School University. Prior to holding office in the Georgia Senate, Senator Lucas served in the Georgia House of Representatives since 1974. Senator Lucas is a founding member of 100 Black Men and the Al Lucas Scholarship Foundation. He also earned the Distinguished Service Award for Excellence in Political Activities from NYU in Manhattan. Senator Lucas and his wife Elaine live in Macon, Georgia. They have 4 children, David Jr., Aris, Leonard, and Albert. He is also an entrepreneur and once the owner of Middle Georgia's world-famous Luke's Lounge, where he and other civil rights leaders would wet their whistles and focus their minds on community empowerment. He is also patriarch of the Senate, who always asks the chaplain of the day to pray for me and that my caucus don't lay their hands on me. Take time to visit and learn from this icon. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Senator from the 26th. Senator, can I share with everyone how long you've been serving in this distinguished body? Huh? The senator from the 26th was my seatmate for 10 years. Taught me everything I know about parliamentary procedures.
Like to me, you got the best of both worlds. You up there and I'm down here. I come to you today to talk about something that happened 30 years ago. We have a problem. The weight limits on trucks has been around about 20 years. We've not addressed it. And it's about money. Government operates off money, not water. Most of our products come from rural Georgia. The forestry industry, the farming industry, and yet we have GMA, Georgia Association of County Commissioners, all opposing the weight limits, as well as DOT. Part of our problem, what happened 30 years ago, we started appropriating money based on congressional districts. We had to fight with Moreland and Murphy on Highway 27 going up West Georgia. We had to fight that all the expansion was being done in Atlanta and that we were not getting our fair share of transportation money. Now here we are again, about to do the same thing. Rivian, Kia, all of these things that we've helped bring to Georgia, these interchanges are done by DOT, and that money is taken out of DOT's budget, rather than the state find a way to pay for it. If you take a truck out of Savannah that's got a seal on it, they can bring it up and down the highway, 100,000 pounds. 100,000 pounds. Now that trailer might be from China, Taiwan, you don't know. But if it's got a seal on it, it's 100,000 pounds. Here we are now, got to build a new bridge in Savannah to take care of these taller ships. Now, where does that money come from? And does the rest of Georgia get slighted on the money they need to fix their roads? We've got a problem. Payload matters. Payload matters. It's something I've been dealing with for the last 3 weeks. How do you make this state keep running and it runs on money, not water. We talk about the weights on bridges. Well, how can DOT fix the bridges if when we bring car plats in, the money on the exchanges have to come from DOT, comes out of their budget. And now we're talking about ships coming into port that are larger. And we just built the bridge 20 years ago. Now we're finna build a new one. And it's costing us money. And where does that money come from? We've got to get it worked out, because I would hate to see us go back 30 years ago and start doing congressional funding with DOT. That's what happened. So we've got to find a way to keep the money rolling in and be able to do the things that we need to do as far as transportation, and to make sure we keep the money flowing in the coffers. Now, this thing runs out March 11th. It runs out March 11th. But you as individual members have to make a decision on how you keep state government running. And again, I say it doesn't run off water, it runs off money. So if you're not going to allow those folks, what I call, they deal with payload. When I was in the bus business, the same load I picked up was the same load I brought back, so I didn't have to worry about it. But we in the Senate are going to have to figure out how to do it. Because if we don't, we are going to be back where we were 30 years ago with saying that now the money is going to one place and we want our share. And yet we're talking about building a state that is a productive state. Mr. President, I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 35th, would you like to speak from your desk? Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand today to welcome the Georgia Chiropractic Association and my doctor, Dr. Winston Carhee of Cascade Pain and Wellness Center, who's here today. And also today is Fulton County Day under the Golden Dome. So welcome to all of the Fulton County elected officials and others who are here or who are en route. And lastly, I would like to recognize my page today, Cedric Lemon, and his grandmother. So thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 36th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, briefly, I want to recognize the League of Women Voters who are celebrating their 103rd anniversary of a grand and glorious national organization that engages women, that urges our population to be civically involved, and does an awful lot during the election season to educate the voters about the ballot in a nonpartisan way. They're here with us today, and I lift up their names and salute them, and you can join them on the South Stairs at 12 o'clock if you'd like to be a part of their celebration for the 103rd anniversary. And one of their leaders, Tracy Atkinson, is going on to take a position on the national board of the League of Women Voters, a group with a century and counting legacy of contributing to our national political dialogue. And I'll take the opportunity while I'm in the well to say that the Working Families Caucus luncheon today in CLOB 307 upon adjournment. You are welcome to join us. Thank you very much, and I'll yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Does any other senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? You have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution on the consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the consent calendar is adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? I recognize the senator from the 51st, the majority leader. Do we? All right, moving on to the rules calendar. Senate Bill 84. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 84 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, the Georgia Uniform Securities Act of 2008, so as to provide for financial protections for elder and disabled adults who may be victims of financial exploitation, to provide for reporting and notice requirements, to provide for the delay of disbursements or transactions that may result in such financial exploitation, to provide for civil and administrative liability protections, to provide for certain disclosures and access to records. The Senate Committee on Banking and Financial Institutions recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Summers of the 13th District Chairman. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Recognize the senator from the 52nd to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have seen a rise in exploitation of our elderly, particularly with the COVID era. And in fact, the U.S. Department of Justice says that over 10% of our elderly will be exploited in any given year. The financial securities industry often knows or has reasonable cause to believe that a transaction is not only up and up, that it's fraudulent, but don't have all the tools they need to stop it. And when it's not stopped and it's found after the fact, in most cases the money's gone and they can't recover the money. So this gives them a tool that 33 other states have that lets them put a hold on it, a pause on it. If they suspect that, they're able to hold it. They should immediately let the department at the Secretary of State know that deals with frauds and securities of this. In no more than 2 days, they have to make that known. The transaction can be held for up to 15 days while it's investigated, hopefully quicker than that. In the 33 other states that have done this, they tell me that in most cases when they believe that there is potential fraud, there usually is. So this will give them a tool to hold on to these, let it be investigated before the money's gone. We have a fraud investigator over there, a lady named Nuala Zaharis, that's been doing this since 2014. Does a great job for our state, and this will give her another tool to help protect our elderly from exploitation. That's the version of the bill that we're looking at, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. If there's none, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you. I urge your favorable consideration.
Does any senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machines. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Moving on to Senate Bill 12. Senate Bill 12. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 12 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 16 of the OCGA relating to crimes and offenses so as to provide for sentencing to minimum terms of imprisonment for persons convicted of possession of firearms by convicted felons and first offender probationers when the offense for which such person is on probation or has been previously convicted is a forcible felony or a domestic violence felony or an act of family violence. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chairman.
Senator from the 9th.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 10th.
Without objection, the senator from the 10th is excused. We have a substitute.
Senate Judiciary offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 12, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to crimes and offenses so as to provide for sentencing to minimum terms of imprisonment for persons convicted of possession of firearms by convicted felons and first offender probationers when the offense for which such person is on probation or has been previously convicted is a forcible felony or a domestic violence felony or an act of family violence. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Thank you, Secretary. I recognize Chairman of Public Safety, a senator from the 56th, to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators. I'm proud to speak today about the Protecting Victims and Dismantling Georgia Street Gangs Act. We have unfortunately seen a dramatic increase in crime, and we have a gang crisis. Make no mistake about that. Estimates put it somewhere between 70 to 90% of every single violent crime in our state is committed by a criminal street gang. And they often target our most vulnerable victims. These are also typically repeat and very violent offenders. Many of us who have served for some time worked on criminal justice reform with then Governor Deal. And I remember his words saying we had to separate those that we were afraid of versus those we were mad at. These are the people that we are afraid of. This work has been well researched, and we pulled in every and all key stakeholder: prosecutors, district attorneys, judges, police chiefs, sheriffs, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the Georgia State Patrol, the Fraternal Order of Police, bondsmen, police foundations, pardons and paroles, Department of Corrections, Department of Community Supervision, victim rights and activist groups, the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association, the Georgia Gang Investigators, just to name a small sample. We worked on this over 18 months and had great support even from the very beginning when Governor Kemp was elected in his first term, who identified this as a crisis, and has been followed up by him as well as our very own Lieutenant Governor, President of the Senate, saying that we are going to stop these criminal street gangs. Every year we have sadly seen an increase in gang activity. Therefore, this is much needed and real criminal justice reform. In Section 2 of this bill, it assures that the punishment for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon or domestic violent felon goes from 1 to 10 years to 5 to 10 years. Gang members have the highest recidivism rate. Domestic violence abusers typically have the same, and it begins an endless loop of violence and criminal activity. Section 3 is a legislative declaration on gangs, that we identify this problem, and often gangs, again, go after our most vulnerable. They are criminal enterprises. They are the leaders in drug activity, human trafficking, armed robberies, and murders. They are also recruiting our children, as the great work done by the senator from the 50th just a few days ago. Section 4 revises the Gang Act to clarify I knew I was going to say this wrong. I can't talk today. All right. Judicata. Thank you, Senator. That one didn't come out right. This allows for local governments and other agencies and other people to bring civil actions against gang members. This is to make sure we can go after folks both criminally and civilly. Section 5 revised the Gang Act to allow certain crimes to prove status of a gang membership. We want to make sure the evidence of activity through an offender is captured all the way through their criminal history. Section 6 is to expand the venue for gang acts. Oftentimes, gang members will continue to move around from county to city, etc. And rather than trying to prosecute that in multiple areas, it allows them to consolidate it into one single venue. Section 7 is who gets to hear bonds for those who are committing these heinous gang acts. And that needs to be done in Superior Court and by a Superior Court judge. In 2010, Georgia law was changed to require Superior Court judges hear bonds. However, sometimes that has been farmed out to magistrate judges. It was in 2010 that an 11-year-old child was murdered by a gang member and was released from jail by a magistrate judge who never should have been on the streets. Section 8 deals with recidivism, repeat offenders who are going after our most vulnerable. These are our friends with special needs, our elderly, who need the additional protections, as well as our minors. Section 9 is really a bit of a cleanup that allows notice of evidence to make sure that there is not what's called a trial by ambush. And Section 10 allows evidence of prior acts to be used for the purpose of connecting the dots for those who have committed abuse against elder, disabled, minor, or domestic abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a big bill, and it was passed with bipartisan support last year. It passed out of committee unanimously. This is going to give victims and public safety the priority over criminals. It is real criminal justice reform, and I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I would yield the well.
You do have one question. Senator from the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield?
The senator does, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're both a gentleman and a senator, and
That's just House terminology, trying to help you out.
That's right. I'm not quite broken yet, sir. So in Section 10, you gave a quick summary of it just now, that the rules on character evidence are going to be modified. And I think there's been, if I'm not wrong, some discussion about how the rule against using character evidence or prior bad acts is a pretty well-established, almost bedrock principle of the rules of evidence in pretty much every jurisdiction. My question is, in terms of the need for this provision, are any of the advocates or the advocates that you worked with, did they ever offer a specific example of a type of evidence involving prior bad acts that prosecution has been unable, they've unsuccessfully tried to get into evidence through an exception to the character evidence rule, right? Motive, intent, plan, that they were unable to because they didn't have this type of direct admissibility provision. Is there any example that you can offer?
Senator, I didn't bring a specific example, but I'm assuming you're talking about 24-420 with repeat offenders and vulnerable victims. In this case, instead of their prior crimes against those types of victims being presumptively inadmissible, it does the exact opposite. In fact, it encourages the introduction of those past abuses for similar victims for relevant purpose. It empowers the juries with the information that they need to make difficult decisions and for then judges to not exclude. The exceptions of the additions of things such as hate crimes. Offenders, as an example, in California of all states have had this provision for over a decade, and I think that we should have at least that, if not more, in the state of Georgia.
Okay, thanks for the senator's time.
Thank you.
Senator from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Yes, sir.
Senator, I was, my ears perked up when you started talking about how the civil liability aspect of this. And can you walk me through, I think you said something about when the criminal liability isn't moved, that the civil liability is there, or the civil liability is opens another possibility to go after these individuals. Could you elaborate on that a little bit for me?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you bringing that up. This was also a great work done by not only our folks in the judiciary, but also from the Trial Lawyers Association. Oftentimes, criminal street gangs not just bring their criminal activity and their behavior that causes harm to our individuals, our families, our businesses, but then that perpetuates down to the civil side. This gives a more venue for us, whether it be a city, a county, or even an individual, to go after them for also civil damages that they have caused. And I think we should use every tool in the law to go after these criminal actors.
Will the Senator further yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, is it not true that sometimes our criminal justice system does not, for whatever reason, go after these individuals?
Senator, you are right, and this gives another outlet for victims to be able to find justice.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you for your question.
You have no further questions, Senator?
Did you say no question?
No question. You have no further questions.
Thank you. I appreciate your support in this very important matter to keep the people of Georgia safe.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the previous question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 44 and the nays are 8. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. SB 112. Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 112 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to vocational, technical, and adult education so as to provide for a pilot program whereby qualifying private nonprofit entities provide instruction and other services for eligible students 21 years of age or older to obtain a high school diploma. The Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Beach of the 21st District Chairman. Senator Tillery of the 19th and Anna Vitarte of the 31st offer the following amendment to amend Senate Bill 112 by adding after the word assembly on line 63 the following in a separate program area for this purpose. That completes the order, Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from the 31st to speak to the measure.
Good almost afternoon. I'm going to be brief. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Senate Bill 112, the Workforce Acceleration Act. You voted twice on this bill last year overwhelmingly with approval. Bottom line is that this bill is to help create jobs in Georgia. As you know, Governor Kemp and Economic Development have created over 37,500 jobs in 4 major economic development projects over the last year. We have 1.1 million Georgians over the age of 18 that do not have a high school diploma. And this bill is focused on those of the age of 21 to 35 that do not have a high school diploma. 112 has had bipartisan support with over 20 co-sponsors. And previously, when this bill was brought before you last year, we proposed that it would fall under the state charter school. We've revised it. It now is under the Technical College System of Georgia. And I asked for favorable consideration. There's an amendment on your desk from myself and the senator from the 19th. I ask you to vote green on that amendment. Thank you. I'll take questions, Mr. President, if there is any.
You have a question, senator from the 12th.
I figure so.
Thank you. Senator, is it not true that the technical colleges already have programming that takes care of those students who have not completed high school and seeking a high school diploma?
So the technical college system has programs that basically cover every age from somebody in high school all the way up to an adult, but they do not provide programming for those that are coming necessarily straight out of poverty and with WRAP services. This program is also being set up as a pilot, so there is an expiration date in the bill. And it's also a public-private partnership, which I think, you know, if we had more of those and with the amount of jobs that we need to create in the state of Georgia right now, I think it would be foolish for us to turn away any help because our state government can't do it alone.
Senator, is it also not true that I completely feel that this is a duplication of services that our state can not afford, and that the monies would be best spent doing other things?
Senator, I appreciate the comment and the questions. I do philosophically disagree that our state could do more. I think we could do more with partnerships with those that are trying to grow our workforce, move those out of poverty who want to be successful and live the American dream. But I think if we continue to do the same old in state government, we are not going to identify and grow the jobs that we need for Hyundai or the announcements we've seen in Bartow County or we've seen with any other job announcement that Governor Kemp has laid before us over the last 12 months. So I think we have to be innovative. We have to be outside the box. And at the end of the day, helping middle income, blue collar workers across the state find their way to get the training and be successful, put food on the table.
Senator, would you further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate the rhetoric, but Senator, is it also true that we have college and career academies that have very distinct pipelines to workforce development?
Yeah, I have one in my own county, in Paulding County. We have a college and career academy. I think it focuses on very narrow-focused elements such as cyber, such as healthcare. But I think if we're going to broaden the workforce in the state, and if we do have 1.1 million Georgians who currently don't have a high school diploma, I am all about trying to find how we get 1.1 million Georgians, give them that opportunity to get a high school diploma at any and all means.
Would you further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
One last statement. Senator, don't you feel that if they've not made attempts to get a high school diploma by now, no matter what program you put out there, it's not necessarily going to work? We have plenty going on already.
Senator, I will respectfully disagree. I'm not going to assume that a single mom has tried to get a high school diploma and not gotten one because she doesn't have childcare or she can't afford transportation to get to the place to get the high school degree, which under the technical college system, I think those supports to remove those barriers do not exist. So I philosophically disagree that we have 1.1 million Georgians who have tried to get a high school diploma and have chosen not to. I think there are opportunities to help those families and individuals, and I think this bill is to move us in that direction as a state to be innovative and partner with the private sector.
Thank you. I appreciate your answer.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator from the 37th, you waive? All right, Senator, you have no further questions.
Thank you.
Senator from the 19th, do you wish to speak to your amendment? All right, you waived. So the question is on the adoption of, does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. So we're at a posture on the Amendment 1. Is there any objection to Amendment 1 that both the author of the bill agrees to? Without objection, Amendment 1 is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. Today, man. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48 and the nays are 4. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed as amended. Moving on, Senate Bill 56. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 56 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to ad valorem taxation so as to require the State Revenue Commissioner to contract with the Board of the Employees Retirement System of Georgia to offer certain county tax commissioners the option to participate in a state-administered deferred compensation plan. The Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd, Chairman. Finance offers the following substitutes to Senate Bill 56, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to ad valorem taxation so as to require the State Revenue Commissioner to contract with the Board of Employees Retirement System of Georgia to offer certain county tax commissioners the option to participate in a state-administered deferred compensation plan. Mr. President, that completes the order.
I recognize the senator from the 52nd to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. For those of you that were here last year, we passed this out as part of a multiple subject bill. And it didn't get called up over in the House. So the same multiple subject bill was presented in the beginning. That's your white copy in there. And some in the House leadership asked that this be a single subject and that they would send the other part over to us. And I agreed to do that. So the bill got changed down to just part of what the bill is, and this is for our tax commissioners, and it's a minority of them, and mostly the small rural ones that collect state money are the only officers in any area that don't have any retirement system at all. Some of them are in the old system that's being phased out. So this would give them not a lot, but it would be a 5% 401k match on their base salary only. The cost currently would be about $225,000 to the system. Now, the old system that's being phased out is costing us about $9 million a year, and it will continue to drop as people age out of the system. So I thought this was a small retirement, but acceptable to them, so that we could say everybody for the state of Georgia has some sort of a retirement system. If there's no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. And the previous question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable for the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor signify by saying voting yea, opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. All right, moving on to the final bill of the day. Senate Bill 93. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 93 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 29 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to information technology so as to restrict the use of certain social media platforms on state equipment. The Senate Committee on Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harbison of the 15th District Chairman. Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 93, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 29 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to information technology so as to restrict the use of certain social media platforms on state equipment, to provide for definitions, to prohibit a state employee or student from installing, using, or visiting on state equipment a social media platform that is controlled or influenced by a foreign adversary, to provide for exceptions for law enforcement purposes, cybersecurity research and development, judicial proceedings, and legislative proceedings. Mr. President, that completes the order.
I recognize the senator from the 31st to speak to the bill.
Good afternoon. Almost afternoon, right? What time is it? It is afternoon. It's 12:02. So basically, to make it short and sweet, this is the bill to ban TikTok from state government devices. In the bill, that you will find that we're requiring the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency to produce a list of foreign adversaries citing the federal code, and that this is going to prohibit state employees from installing, using, visiting on state equipment, social media platforms controlled by foreign governments that are recognized as foreign adversaries under federal law and by our White House on an international level. Kind of keep it sweet with that, Mr. President. I'll just yield for questions. I think everybody knows what this is.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Oh, Senator from the second, I apologize. You just came on there.
Does the gentleman yield?
Of course.
Would this apply to members of the Georgia General Assembly, because by virtue we're also state employees?
Great question, Senator. This will apply to the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch. This will also apply to K-12 where state-specific devices are issued. There is a carve-out in the bill that also allows law enforcement, cyber security, research, judicial proceedings, access to the platforms for investigative reasons, or if the state was, had a cybersecurity attack or something to that effect, to allow our first line folks to do their jobs.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Of course.
Does the senator from the 31st have a TikTok?
Absolutely not. I've never had TikTok.
Thank you.
But I will tell you, my kids, without reading the bill, think that we're getting rid of their TikTok. Maybe we should, but that's a different bill.
Senator from the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield? Or excuse me, again, does the senator yield? Sir.
Yes, gentleman senator from the 14th, I yield.
Thank you, gentleman senator. Is it not true, Senator, that Senator was responsive to questions about the scope of the bill in committee and did some work to narrow the scope of the bill to make sure that it targeted exactly the conduct we're talking about, and I'll be proud to support the bill for all these reasons.
Yes, and I thank the senator from the 14th for his comments in committee and since then in terms of trying to make the bill better and relaying his concerns, and thank you for the dialogue.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. Gentlemen.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Does any senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. And is there objection? I'm off my game today, Pro Tem. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will lock the machine. On the passes of the bill, the yeas are 50 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Recognize the Majority Leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Legislative Day 20 has come to an end. We are across the middle and called Hump Day. And so at this time, I'd move that the Senate stand adjourned pursuant to Senate Resolution number 6 until 10 a.m. Tuesday, February 21st.
The Majority Leader has moved. Senators from the 25th, for what purpose do you rise?
Just to remind, retirement meeting today at 1 o'clock in the Senate mezzanine.
Retirement meeting at 1 o'clock. All right, Secretary will read the announcements.
The Rules Committee meeting will happen upon adjournment in 450 of the Capitol. The Retirement Committee meeting will happen at 1 p.m. in Mezzanine 1 of the Capitol. The Children and Families Committee meeting will happen at 1 p.m. in 307 CLOB. The Banking and Financial Institutions Committee meeting will happen at 1 p.m. in 450 of the Capitol. The Regulated Industries and Utilities Committee meeting will happen at 2 p.m. in 450 of the Capitol. The Public Safety Committee meeting is canceled. The Economic Development and Tourism Committee meeting will happen at 3 p.m. in Mezzanine 1 of the Capitol. The Judiciary Committee meeting is canceled. The State and Local Government Operations Committee meeting will happen at 4 p.m. in 450 of the Capitol. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Senator from the 39th, for what purpose do you rise?
It's an announcement. Maybe I'm supposed to come up there.
You want to make an announcement?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Just a reminder that today is Fulton County Day at the Capitol at 2:30 in room 341 CAP. We'll be gathering with business leaders from across the county and other executives. Thank you.
Senator from the 18th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to remind all members to please take a look at and see if you've got a committee meeting today. I know we want to get home since we're not in session tomorrow, but please stay and attend your committees so that we'll have quorums and we can continue the great work that this Senate chamber is doing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Yeah, please attend your committee meetings so we can have quorums. Senator from the 21st.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We're going to move the Economic Development and Tourism Committee meeting from Mez 1 to Capitol 125 so we have accessibility for our member to get there. Thank you.
Senator from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate Appropriations Committee, we will have a committee meeting Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Senate Appropriations.
Tuesday, 8 a.m. Appropriations. Very important you attend. All right, the Majority Leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until February 21st, Tuesday, 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes clearly have it. We're adjourned.